The Nissan Nation podcast is a presentation of DRB and KGB Media.
Recorded live, coast to coast, it's the Nissan Nation podcast. From camping, racing, and all points in between. The NNP is your Nissan Nation podcast. Now start your engines and welcome in the hosts, David and Danny.
What is going on, Nissan Nation? From all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to the ATL tonight. This is your Nissan Nation podcast. We've got a special co-host tonight. We've got the Regal Beagle. We got Mr. Holden Scott. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man?
Man, we got all kinds of. This is a breaking podcast, you know, because Nissan's breaking it. I hate to say breaking it big time, but man, the things that we watched today was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I feel like we should have had a new sounder for breaking Nissan news.
I have to talk to the Brez on that one. Come on, Brez. We need you. You have news, but I need breaking news. But man, so we've been talking about it for a few weeks that the next Altima's coming, and some of my sneaky inside sources have given us some details that we didn't want to release all of them. I've seen some of the car. I know Holden, you've seen some things about this. Of course, being a dealer, I hope they let you guys in on something, but
no, you'd be surprised. They keep it pretty tight-lipped. So
what? Come on, man. The interwebs tell me everything I know from Facebook car chat rooms is dealers know everything. They're the smartest people in the planet. They know it all.
Yeah, I wish.
You're crushing
Most of the time,
it.
I read stuff on the interwebs and then text my Nissan people and be like, "Is this true?"
Well, it was funny when I worked for Nissan at the plant here in Smyrna. It was funny, like they would really you would find stuff on the internet about the car before, and I was building the cars. Like I remember like Altima and them coming through, and the last generation Altima. I remember them sneaking it through and going through the trials. Like you would have parts of this brand new car, and you're like, what the hell is this? And it's like nothing. But it was funny. They have the Nissan TV in the plants, and the day it was supposed to, I forget what it was, JX30, the Infiniti JX35, whatever the hell they call that thing now, QX60 or something. The day it was supposed to launch, I think it launched in New York as well. That's when they showed the plant, and it's like we've built this car for like 4 months now, and I'm pretty sure we've seen it. But even their own people, they're like, nope, can't know anything.
That's what we've been doing this whole time.
Yeah.
I knew that looked familiar.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's all. Jeep has a problem with, every time Jeep tries to build something and be sneaky about it, there's somebody in the plant that always pops pictures, man. And I was always amazed on the new trial cars that they build that Nissan was real good about. They see a camera on the line or a phone, and they're going to break your arm. But, yeah, sneaky. And, man, this one really lived up to the hype. They just gone a complete, I don't know, it's just a new direction for the body of the car, and it's just a beautiful looking car.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, like you said, with the surprisiness of it, I think that's kind of pushed it even further with the press and everything. Was they did such a good job keeping it secret till the very last minute. I mean, we obviously knew there was some chatter of it going to be the V-Motion 2.0 that they released in Detroit in 2017. You could see a little bit of it from the sketch they released, but overall, I think they did a great job with the car, and just it's like you said, it's a completely different turn from Nissan. I mean, this is going to be the first time they've ever redone a model and have two new engine options.
Yeah,
so
and
that's huge.
We'll get into that because those are some major changes that's kind of exciting for the gas world, not the diesel world, but the gas world. I mean, we don't get many exciting changes for a motor, but yeah, like you're saying, this one brings me back to not the previous gen. It brings me back to the mid 2000s models just a little bit, where they've gone a little bit harsher lines again. So the last one was just real smooth and real aerodynamic, and it honestly never did anything for me. The Maxima does more, but the last Altima didn't do anything, and I think sales have kind of shown that too, because sedan sales are way down.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say it, because I was, just looking through some Nissan articles just today, and they were doing, history of the Altima. And so I was just going through, clicking them. And like you said, not this past one, but the one before that. I think it was 2002 was the body change. But when they went to those harsher, I remember those taillights, that kind of clear taillight, the multi-bulb taillight. And I just remember when that thing first came out, I just thought it was such a cool, different looking car. So I feel like with this new Altima, that's kind of what they've done. They've kind of, you can still see a little bit of the Altima lines in it, but it's pretty much all new and just a total design change for them, which I think is a really cool thing.
It is. And like you said, the taillights still have kind of that boomerang taillight to it, but it's not as harsh. Even the front headlights kind of have that V to them a little bit, but it's been, I don't know, it's been refined just a little bit. I will say the one thing from the video they had this morning that I didn't care for is the rims on this thing. And of course, rims are easily changeable, but they didn't do anything for me for the sportiness of this car.
Well, I'm wondering if those are going to be the actual rims that they keep with, because those are kind of a recycled wheel that they have out right now.
And that's what I was thinking about those.
I've known that I've known them in the past to come out with something with maybe wheels that they kind of already have, and we all know how much Nissan thinks of their wheels with how much they are.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised with them coming out maybe with something different. Maybe if they do hear a little bit of chatter about that, because that is one thing I noticed. Well, was the wheel.
And I've noticed they're real good about listening to feedback when they release these cars. And of course, they stress, this is a pre-production model; things can change. But they do pay attention, and they'll listen to the press about the press will find something to nitpick about, and they will kind of work on that. So hopefully, there's only it's a round. There's only so many things you can do with a round object. But let's throw those Pro 4X rims on there, man. That'd look better to me.
Yeah, and I think this one maybe being a platinum. So maybe they are coming out with a different wheel, this, that, or the other. But I think another cool thing is they do keep some of the Nissan features, some of the things that they kind of use as their flagship things. You do have the floating roof.
Mm-hmm. Which is a little more mild. That did you notice that? It's not as like the Maxima. It's not that extreme.
Yeah, it's not as extreme, but it's still there enough to where they can say, hey, it has our floating roof. The Leaf has it. The Maxima has it. Mm-hmm. You have the D-shaped steering wheel. I don't know if you noticed that. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that they've done with the Rogue and some other models. And then I think we're seeing they're going to slowly start changing all these infotainment centers over to that iPad style in the center of the dash that you're seeing with the kicks coming out now with the Altima. And then obviously you're going to have your ProPilot Assist, which we're going to start seeing trickle down into more and more models. I think this is one of the first steps of that. They started off with the Leaf. The Rogue has it in select models. Altima has it in select models. So I think we're going to start seeing that be more widespread throughout their lineup going forward.
Well, did you notice, I don't know how well you've looked at the rear of this car, but the Altima was always known to have this right above the license plate. It always had this chrome plating that went right above the license plate, and they've done away with it on this one, and it's just the color of the car really stands out. They've let the body lines on this car, don't hide it behind a bunch of fancy chrome, just let the body lines speak for themselves. Yeah,
they've definitely done that. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with that as an accessory.
Probably.
So that's something that they would totally do. But yeah, that is one nice thing. And then just the paint. I like the color that they came with this one. I really like the red. I'll be interested to see if is this going to be the craziest color they get, or are they going to do something else? I'd like to see it in a blue. I think the blue that they do would be a really nice. So that's another thing that we have to, there's still things we had to look forward to with this car too, moving forward. Is there going to be any other colors? Obviously we only saw one interior color. We've only seen one model. So it's going to be maybe some other changes throughout the lineup that they might be able to bring to the market.
Right. And with this one, definitely, it has that racy lines too. They've really worked. I know they've stretched the car out. What was it, 2 inches? I think that the wheelbase is stretched a little bit. Of course, that's going to be for better handling as well. But they've really, that hood is more, it's stretched out. Not as, because Nissan's always had this real compact with the Altima. It's just been a real compact front end. The Gen 1 is of course, I can't stand that car, but the Gen 1 was like a little, sort of like a bug, a take on a bug, the way it was just a little round thing. And this car here this car makes me question why they need the Maxima is what this car does.
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago at a Nissan meeting, they had kind of said that there was a plan, maybe possibly, to move the Altima up possibly a class, and then maybe even move the Maxima up a class to compete with even higher end cars. Mm-hmm. I mean, another thing to point out is, I mean, we're looking at a platinum Altima.
Right.
This is going to be the first time that they've ever come out with a platinum version of the Altima. Usually your highest level you've seen is a 3.5 SL. So is this platinum level Altima going to be something that we see slowly maybe take a place of that Maxima, and maybe they move the Maxima up a class and make it even more to compete with Mercedes or BMW or something the likes of that? Because, I mean, from what I'm seeing technology-wise and from this car, with the Platinum version, there's no reason why it can't compete with a Maxima right out of the gates.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Interior seems to be, of course, like we said, this is a Platinum, but interior and everything, just it looks, high end. And of course, there was going back to those mid 2000s, the Maxima and the Altima back then were almost identical cars. The insides, like, it was almost the same size. And that was always, Nissan's real big about heritage name plates, and of course Maxima's been around since the 80s, so I know that would be a name that you'd hate to just kind of ease off, but they're pushing this car to be their flagship, their big model. Yeah,
I think they are. I mean, with a couple of things that they're doing with it, I mean, as far as obviously the new engines, obviously the big other announcement besides the engine is going to be the all-wheel drive. So that opens them up to markets where maybe the Altima hasn't been able to compete. So this is more of a nationwide car. I mean, you can compete in the Midwest. You can compete up north, some other places where maybe Subaru and some other cars that have that all-wheel drive option have been hurting Nissan. And then, two, you got to think they've lost sales to the Rogue against themselves. Well, maybe this all-wheel drive, this new refresh, will be able to get some of those people who maybe say, I need an SUV or a crossover, a small SUV, because of the all-wheel drive option. Mm-hmm. Now, if you wanted a sedan and you still need that all-wheel drive option, you can have that.
Yeah, and they seem like they mentioned that a little bit. Maybe the second guy that was up was talking about how that they felt like it did take away from, Rogue took away from the sedan sales, or they mentioned something about that. Which strikes me as funny because it's like, who cares? As long as you're selling your brand, who cares, man? But and sedans have been out of style for a while. I think it's because every brand went super conservative with them. There is, in Nissan's case, you got a Versa, kind of a little Versa sedan. You got a Sentra now. You got the Alta. You got like 15 cars, it seems like, competing for $1,000 price range. So maybe they do away with a few of these and concentrate on this car.
Yeah, that's one of the things I had heard is, maybe we're going to have a nicer Altima, move the Maxima up to get a new class, something they've never attached, and then maybe even have the Sentra kind of be more of that economy buyer. I mean, with this car, obviously, I'm sure with the S, you're going to have your economy buyers, but they're also targeting some higher-end buyers. With this, I mean, Platinum, obviously we don't know any pricing yet, but I would assume you're looking at, I mean, my best guess, a Platinum with this turbo engine, I mean, $38,000 car pretty easily. And so that's going to be something new.
What does a current Altima kind of retail out at, up of a high end?
Well, your 3.5 SL, you're looking at about $31,000. I mean, MSRP's about 34.9. So you could probably easily. I mean, I would be shocked if the Platinum, even with that new engine, is much more than 35 to 38 max. Because another thing with that variable compression engine is you're not able to get the all-wheel drive. So
Right.
it's kind of one or the other with that. So it's not like you're doubling up. You're getting that very nice variable compression engine and all-wheel drive.
Right.
So I would say 38 would probably be the max you're going to see this car, fully loaded down.
Right. And I could see that being a nightmare just to figure out a computer system to control the engine and all of a sudden all your wheels.
Yeah. Well, from what I've read is they used the all-wheel drive, because I thought originally when I first heard it was maybe they used some Mitsubishi technology. Obviously Mitsubishi being big in all-wheel drive, but I'm guessing that didn't come together quick enough for them to be able to put this, because you think they've been designing this car for at least 1.5 to 2 years now. So apparently they used a lot of the Rogue all-wheel drive system for this Altima, which makes sense.
Yeah, and they're based on the same platform, so yeah, I can see that working. Yeah, I've never really given that a thought. Did you see where the push button start and all that is now? It's right in front of the shifter. The dash is what I'm seeing is the dash is super classy, super minimalistic, and then like the steering wheel is like, I don't know, it's like 5 iPads on top of each other. Like there's like buttons everywhere on that steering wheel, man. I get confused in my Titan half the time where the volume is, because in my Frontier the volume is the big button on the left hand side. My Titan is is it the little button for the? It's like completely opposite. So I can see on this car going, like Grandma, don't buy one of these because you're gonna be scratching your head forever.
I mean, just looking at it, one of the things I do like is some of the grouping of the buttons. They've kind of kept things together. Like if you notice where your heat and everything is, your heated seats are right there in that same. So before, I feel like sometimes there'd be random buttons in random spots, and your heated seats would be down near your shifter, and then your AC and all that would be. So they've kind of, hey, all my temperature things, heated seats, heated steering wheels, all right there, all together. Obviously, the steering wheel, you're going to have some more Bluetooth buttons on the right side, but in that Pro Pilot, you have that blue button, and then you have your ways to control the distances and things like that. And then just with that driver heads-up display, you obviously have the arrows back and forth, up and down, and enter. So yeah, there is a lot of buttons, but it's actually not much more than what we're seeing with the new Rogues and the Leafs and things like that. So it's something people are getting pretty used to. As far as the infotainment center, even the buttons that are involved in that are very streamlined and at the bottom. I've been telling my customers as we've delivered cars and things like that, it's only a matter of time before you see buttons almost completely non-existent, and I think this is another step towards that. You're slowly seeing.
Like you were saying, I'm looking at a real high-res picture of the dash, and it's definitely. I mean, they've definitely keyed off of Apple a little bit with the design of this tablet entertainment center. And like you said, there's only let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buttons at the very bottom, and they're very like buttons you don't even need to really probably touch to program the car a little bit, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, they're buttons that are all. I mean, you can do everything that those buttons are for on the touchscreen itself. I mean, you see the center button's home, and if you look right above it, you can actually touch home on the touchscreen itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the iPhones right now. Everyone has a button, but with this new iPhone X, no button, and it's just a matter of time, I think. I mean, we've been seeing the buttons getting less and less with each model, and it's only a matter of time before we see that completely disappear, I think, off of vehicles, which will be fascinating.
What do you think companies like Alpine and Pioneer and all these companies think when they see these new style tablet radios? Because when I was a kid, everybody that was, you wanted to get rid of that old factory radio, and like that's a thing of the past anymore because they're so good that you don't need to mess with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I mean, obviously they still have a long ways to go before they have to really necessarily worry. But I mean, I don't see anyone pulling this thing out and replacing it with anything else.
Oh, I want to see the guy scratching his head, the developer trying to get a 10-inch tablet in this thing, and with the little bit of room he's got to work with, Well, I was thinking, this might be some business we can go into. Do we need to put screen protectors on these? Well, I will say that is, now that you said that, My Frontier is, of course, I'm a land surveyor. I'm rough on the cars anyways, but my screen on my radio is scratched the piss, man. It's just, and this truck's only been in service for a year and a few months, and the screen's scratched, and I don't know how it happens. I don't know, but yeah, that would be actually a good idea to put a screen protector on it.
Yeah, there's one of the things I was looking at, because I've been calling it guys at work like, hey man, it's pretty much got an iPad built into the dash. And that was one of the first things I thought of is, if we're touching it that much, is it going to be something where we need to get a screen protector or something like that? That might be a little thing we can start right now before someone else thinks of it, or maybe someone's already thought of it.
That's right. Well, we need to talk to Mr. J.R. Carey, because he's got connections in China for those type of things, and we'll fast track that one. With finishing up with the radio, but yeah, it's super clean. It's app centric. There's an app for everything, much like my Titan, except hopefully they don't lock everything down when you've got it in gear. That's the one bummer about my Titan is, like, I understand why they do it, but stop with the navigation, man. I mean, clearly if I need the navigation, if I'm using it, let me use the navigation.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've gotten to, I know you're always going to dealerships and things like that, so I don't know, have you gotten to play with the Apple CarPlay at all?
I haven't, man, and I've been real interested in this one. It has Apple CarPlay and Android, right?
Yeah, it has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I've really mostly messed with the Apple CarPlay, but it's super awesome. You got to plug your phone in via the USB, which is right there in front of the shifter, but it pretty much will bring up, and it makes the entire screen look just like an iPhone.
So it clones your phone.
Your maps. So you'll have your maps, your messages, your music, and it'll be the same app icon as what you see on your phone. So I know a lot of people, they'd rather use their Apple Maps than Nissan Maps and things like that. So it allows you to do that. Obviously, your text messaging, your music, and everything right there. So it's really cool feature. It's one thing that a lot of customers that I've interacted with really, really like. So the only thing I will say is you do have to have an iPhone, I think it's 5S or newer, because I ran into this problem just this week. One of my sales guys came and got me. He's like, hey, man, can you help me with this Apple CarPlay? And the lady hands me her cord, and it was one of those old cords, like the big fat.
Yeah.
And I was like, pretty sure this isn't going to work, but we'll try it. And then I had to look up on Nissan's website and make sure I was correct. But she had such an old iPhone that it actually wouldn't even use the Apple CarPlay. So
yeah, sorry, ma'am. You're buying a new car. Guess what? You get to go buy a new phone too. And of course, the payments on the phone is going to be more expensive than the car.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a completely digital dash, is it? It looks like the Speedo and everything still the kind of the old style, where you have to have a needle.
Yeah, I mean, you can see, the picture I'm looking at, I don't know how many different interior pictures. You obviously have the Speedo and then your RPMs, but in the middle I can see where it makes out where it says speed, 0 miles per hour. So it looks like there's also a digital display for speed. Obviously, the driver heads-up display, usually you'll have speed, fuel economy, any type of warning lights. You have your safety measures, your blind spot warning and things like that. Your navigation can be in there if you want, and what you're playing on the radio. So there's a bunch of little screens within there. But yeah, it looks like you have an option also to put speed, which is a big thing, because the Leaf has it, I believe. But other than that, no other model has it. So that'll be a first for them as well.
That's one thing. Of course, you sell these, and you know what people kind of play with in their cars a little bit. But that was one thing that like the Titan has. You have a bunch of options, and of course, it's got the off camber and direction and all that. And you know what I find myself? I just keep it on the fuel mileage deal, and I never change it off. And of course, I'll reset trip and everything when I fill it up. But because it's a game to me of, can I get any mileage out of this vehicle? So I'm sure everybody has their option they like to keep it on, but I rarely scroll through mine much.
I really on my XD, I have it on the turbo one, so I'm like the complete opposite. I have it where you can see the turbo spooling back and forth. But yeah, everyone has different options. And then the other nice thing is you can turn some of those off. So I've had customers in the past where, I don't want all that. I want it to where it tells me my trip, my fuel economy, and you can turn it to where there's only 3 or 4 screens to choose from instead of the 9 to 10 if you selected all of them. So
right. The one for the Titan always trips me out. The camber one. I'm like, for one, why would you ever have this truck? And I know our buddy Scott Gold that wheeled his at Moab last year, but he's like the one ultra 1% of 1% that would ever do that. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of a cool feature, but who looked at this stuff?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, and there's also some other, moving on in the interior. One thing that I kind of noticed is down by the shifter below it, you'll see you have the electronic parking brake and the auto hold. I'm guessing that this is going to be a feature on the Platinum itself. Obviously, we haven't seen what the breakdowns are between the different trim levels. If I was to guess, I would think maybe this can be a Platinum and SL option. But essentially, you have your electronic parking brake. So gone are the days of pushing the pedal down or pulling it up in your column. It's just a simple push it down to engage it, pull it up to disengage it. And then with the auto hold, it's like it's almost like a hill assist, but instead of it having to be activated on the hill, if you actually activate it and you completely stop your vehicle, it'll hold it stopped until you hit the gas. Oh, wow. So really nice for maybe your stop and go traffic, or if you're at a red light. So it's another way, Nissan with the Pro Pilot and with the auto hold, other features like that, they're really trying to reduce what they're calling driver fatigue. Mm-hmm. So I think that's another interesting thing. And another thing that our generation's seen for years and years, your electronic or your parking brake, it's about to be the way of a simple push button on and off.
Right. Well, because, people fuss about the CVT and all that, but it's all gone so electronic, man, that, you don't need to do anything. But what I don't see in this car is the bump shift. Have you noticed that? You know how we can feel like it's a manual?
Mm-hmm. Well, it has paddle shifters.
Does it have? I didn't. Okay, I see it. I just see a glance of it now. Okay.
It's not like I noticed. I actually just noticed it when I was looking through the dash just as we were talking. I noticed the paddle shifters. Again, be interesting. I don't know what model. Did they say if this was a model with the VC turbo that they showed, where this would be?
No, I haven't seen on the one they were kind of displayed at the New York show what it was. And I think I bet they keep the hood closed on that car for a little bit too, because they don't want to give everything away just right yet. But and kind of with the center console, I don't know if you're going to be a fan of this or not, but there's no, the cup holders don't have the inserts anymore. And I have noticed it on the new cars where that's going away, but the dirtiness part of my cups, man, I'm thinking, man, it just seems like now that's going to be a pain in the butt to kind of clean out.
Yeah, that is something. I guess you get those little things that you stick down in there.
And they're not going to fit a Gatorade in there, I can tell you that, because they look like normal cup holders.
No, there's no big gulps or anything like that.
The stitching in this car looks beautiful. Leather, even the outside trim of where the shifter is all looks like in leather. Of course, that's going to be your Platinum Edition. But it looks like the seats are heated and cooled there. If you look at the seats, they're vented. Yeah,
I was just noticing the middle trim of that. It almost looks like it's not a solid color. Maybe this picture that I'm looking at is not high resolution enough, but does that look like a solid? I guess it is about solid. I really like the kind of tan that they've gone with. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people aren't a fan of it, but I do like how they've kept a lot of the black accents. Obviously, you have black floor mats. I think that was one of the things that they've really done a good job with in past years. I remember being in parts department and service, those tan floorboards and tan carpets were just such a pain. They get so dirty. Now they've switched them over to black. So the black with the tan, I think, is going to be – it looks really good. Like you said, there's a lot of little leather accents, like you were pointing out with the center console and the seating and everything. I know they've also said that they upgraded the zero gravity seating to make it even more comfortable. That's another big thing that Nissan harps on, is the zero gravity seating. A lot of things that they're saying is going to help reduce driver fatigue. So I think that's one thing that they're really focused on with these cars.
Well, I sure hope they work on the Frontier with that one, because my Frontier seats are pretty horrible.
Now, I can't say for sure that they are working on the Frontier seats, because I know that was part of the problem when one of my inside sources got on the Frontier project. They actually wanted to reuse a lot of the interior, including the seats. Yeah. And he kind of came out and said, no, we are not doing that. We are redoing these seats. So they are doing that.
Let's just hope your connection there didn't get his head chopped with all the chopping they had to do recently.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's moving to Canada and China.
Yep, time.
Did you know Fred Diaz, he's going out to China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's going to Mitsubishi, right?
Or no, Fred Diaz is going to Mitsubishi. What's his name's going to China? Dang it. I can't think of his name. The guy in charge of North America right now.
Come on, people, just yell at your radio right now. Just yell the name.
Just yell the name out. Okay, that guy.
Okay, you can email Holden. Email Holden Scott at regalnissan.com, and just constantly over the next week, just keep emailing him the name of this, and you'll win a sticker.
But yeah, he's going out to China, and he's actually going to be staying in Nashville and flying back and forth out to China.
Well, I mean, that's just a 26-hour, 27-hour trip. That's nothing, man.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was pretty crazy.
He could do Skype like we're doing, man. That'd be all right. Right? Just have one of them computers. Have you seen those little wheeled computers where it's got like an iPad face and just driving around? You can yell at people that way.
Jose Munoz.
Yeah. Oh, wow, man. The Hispanic dude's going to China, huh?
Yeah. I mean, they've literally chopped pretty much the whole head down.
He wasn't in Franklin very long at all, really. Maybe a year and a half.
Well, y'all are stuck with him while he operates China.
But I am always, the deeper I get tangled with car manufacturers, I am always amazed at how fast like heads roll, and you always do. You get to realize why certain cars take longer to develop than others is because, like the XD, or the IDX. Man, that was a set project ready to go. And then the guy left to go to Cadillac or somewhere. So every time somebody gets in charge of a vehicle, it's like, oh, they just got promoted. Oh, they're always moving like, there's a thing on Family Guy or American Dad where it's like dude's trying to be promoted within the CIA. And it's like he gets his little ruler out. And there's like this little line. He's like, oh, so I moved a quarter of an inch. And that's like what these car manufacturer guys do, man. They're constantly like, can I just get just a hair more title?
Yeah. And sometimes that's all it is. It's like, I'm now district operation over South and Southwest and just weird things. I know right now in our area, we can't get a Dom. No one wants to come to the Atlanta district area.
Wait, I'm sure there's some clubs where you could find a Dom over in Atlanta.
Yeah. Our Dom we have, he's going out to Dubai.
Really?
And they can't get anyone to come out to Atlanta because Atlanta, I mean, I'm not saying, hey, tooting our own horn, but Atlanta is such a cutthroat market. It is just terrible. So no one wants to come out here because most people don't make it here. It's like one of those areas where you either make it big or you get sent off and you're going to work for someone else.
Well, your market is huge. I mean, the people think of the South as, they're just small little hick towns and stuff. But Atlanta is a full size. I mean, you're not New York or L.A., but I mean, I'd say Atlanta's probably the biggest city in the South.
Yeah, so, I mean, they call it Empire City of the South. So, but it's just such a different animal than other markets. But I don't want to bore everyone with Nissan talk like that.
Yeah, we'll go geography.
You want to get into these want to get into these motors and these new motors?
Yeah, man. Let's break. Let me get to my press release on those because we've got some good stuff. There. Come here, Nissan. And if you want to follow along, kids, you can go to nissannews.com for their official press release of this. So let's see. We got ProPilot there. Nah, I don't care about that. Let's see. Turbos. There it is. So they are replacing the Altima's 3.5 V6 with what they're calling a variable compression turbo inline four-cylinder. What they're saying is it's going to generate some of the power. They won't say the power of a V6, but they're saying it, kind of gets there. But it's going to give you the chance to have the four-cylinder fuel economy. And what it does is it adjusts the is it the cams, isn't it? Or is it the let's see if it says it here because I'm going to say it wrong and I'll get some angry emails. Let's see. Compression. It's changing the compression ratio, but it's doing it by the crank. That's right. So it can adjust the crank up and down depending on how you're pushing the gas pedal. So what it does is if it needs more compression, it's lowering those pistons so you get a bigger bang. If it doesn't need that bigger bang, it pushes those pistons up. Nissan's it says they've worked on this for 20 years. I know they've talked about it for at least 10. That they've been working on this. And this is Nissan's first chance at it. It's been with the Infiniti. What are they saying there? The QX50 crossovers where it's been. And for them to... Normally it seems like every Infiniti gets everything, and then 5 to 6 years it bleeds down. But this engine, man, they must think a lot of it, that they're pushing it right in.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying, obviously, this is one of the first mass-produced engines like this. And for them to be jumping right into it, it's not like they're only having it out for one specific trim level. Now, granted, it's only available in the Altima SR and the Platinum trim, but it's something that, hey, they're really advertising this. I mean, the new QX50 commercials, you're seeing those all the time. So it's something they must be pretty confident in. And they're confident enough that they can come out with a model with 2 new engines. I mean, like we're even talking about, you have this one with the turbo, like you're talking about variable compression. It looks like it has, you can go from a 14-to-1 ratio for your higher efficiency to an 8-to-1 ratio for high performance. So definitely something that is going to be a game changer, in my opinion. I've also read where they're saying you're going to get double-digit fuel mileage over the traditional 3.5-liter V6. So not only are you getting, almost the power of a V6, you're looking at being able to have double-digit fuel economy over it as well. So, you're almost getting your cake and eating it, too, at the same time.
What is the kind of the numbers of that V6, man? What is the horsepowers of that? Because I know like the 4.0, which is basically the same thing, is like 261, but I felt like it was like in the 280s maybe. That
I was about to pull it up because we don't even have one on our lot right now.
Right, because I feel like the horsepower numbers are down quite a bit. But if you're getting if the trade off is you're getting some of the power, but you're getting the fuel economy. But did you notice with this engine premium fuel? So there's going to be a trade off to this thing, and it's going to be at the pump.
Yeah, you're looking at 270 horses.
Okay, so
for your V6.
So they're down what 22 horsepower, but most people never use that anyways. It's a kind of a male gauge of how cool you are, but it's turbo, so it's gonna have you that torque when you need it right now. You're not gonna be playing around with it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be something where when you really step on that gas, it's going to, obviously change that compression ratio, and you're going to feel. I talked to some people at Nissan today about it, and just saying, hey, I really like the car. Trying to see if I could, get any other information that maybe they didn't release in the press release or anything like that. Obviously, they were pretty still tight-lipped. They just kind of went over exactly what we kind of heard Nissan talk about. But one of my guys did tell me, dude, just wait till you drive it. he said it drives awesome. So I think that is one thing.
You know, I'm going to be in Atlanta to test drive one of these things because we're going to the YouTube channel needs some video, man.
No, that's fine. As soon as I get one, you're more than welcome to come on down.
Did you know? I mean, they're saying that the emissions in this motor is going to be a lot better too, and I know that was from some service techs I've talked to about the last engine. That was one of the dings of it is like emissions wise, like if they were working on it, it would I know the 4.0 was bad about setting off the alarms y'all have if you don't have it hooked up right, and so I know that last motor wasn't as efficient with emissions as it could be. So
yeah, it's obviously runs cleaner. Is going to be one thing. I know it's also less space. It's a smaller engine. That's one of the reasons why that hood is so maybe forward sloping, and why you got that. They were able to make that shape because you think if they had to put a 3.5 in there, that would totally change the front end of that car.
Yeah, but think about the balance of that car now, though. So they've had to work with that because you do want some. You generally is like 60-40 is kind of what the balance of a car should be. So that lighter engine has to really, and that must be why they stretched it out a little bit too, is to kind of make up for that. Yeah,
and just continuing reading about some other things. I mean, obviously they have. It looks like they do the mirror bore coating, so they're saying it's a 44% reduction in cylinder friction. So I mean, you got a lot of work's been put in both these engines. Obviously, this turbo is going to be something that is a big selling point, and you're also getting some cross advertising, like I already talked about with Infiniti, with the QX50. I've seen that commercial. I can't tell you how many times watching March Madness with them talking about how it's close to the human heart. It goes faster when you want to go faster and rest when you want to rest. So it's something people are kind of already aware of if you're watching TV. So now when you see, hey, this isn't just an Infiniti thing, Nissan Altima also has it. So that might be one thing maybe we're seeing in the future too, is a different strategy from Nissan and Infiniti where they're cross marketing for each other.
Well, and it's strange to me that Infiniti, what was late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in there is when the brand really came out, and they were just in America they were just rehashes of whatever they were building in Japan, and how it switched to the late 2000s where nope, now Infiniti's going to be our development brand, and Nissan's just kind of going to get the what we come up with after the fact. I will say the turbo, man. This tech, man, they're going to have to at some point. You're a dealer. These cars are going to come into the shop with issues, and I can see them replacing this first generation. I see motors being replaced left and right for a little bit. Whether it be the people not putting the right fuel in it and just screwing the motors up, or they're going to eat a few of these motors.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be something we're going to have to train customers on, definitely. Your maintenance, obviously making sure that the salesmen are going over the fuel, and then just people being aware of, obviously with a turbo, it's a little bit different. You got to make sure you're getting your air filters cleaned out. You got to make sure, there's some extra things you got to kind of think about. So it's going to be a matter of, sometimes it's retraining your customers, making sure they're aware of your maintenance standards. And it's things salesmen should be doing, but sometimes, you get someone who's on their third, fourth Nissan product. They kind of, I know everything.
Right.
Well, sir, no, you might not know about this new car. I know you say it's a new engine, but let me tell you how it's different. Let me tell you some differences between driving. You're going to have a lot of these buyers are going to be first-time turbo buyers that you're seeing now. It's not like you're going to have guys from over in Subaru and guys that have turbo engines coming over to buy this Altima. It's going to be your, normal drivers, and this could be their first turbo car. So it's something we're, as an industry, you're going to have to focus on, making sure you're making your customers aware.
Smaller engines and turbos, that's kind of the standard now. You've seen everybody, whether it be Ford or everybody kind of, Subaru and those guys for years have been like waving the flag of turbo, and nobody really caught on till the gas crunch hit, and then all of a sudden, everybody's quickly trying to develop it. And I will say I know Ford hadn't had much problems with their EcoBoost stuff, but it seems like Nissan has taken their time to do this. Of course, I've talked about this on previous shows. Like, Nissan's not a big enough brand like Ford and GM where they can just throw millions and millions of dollars at it and go, okay, I want this next year. They have to take their time a little bit, but with this engine, man, they've really I mean, obviously 20 years, but they've taken their time to do it right.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sitting here reading a quote from Munoz saying that with no special maintenance required, drivers can just enjoy the driving experience without thinking about all the amazing things happening under the hood. So, I mean, I guess they've really pushed this motor to where it does kind of run itself. It's not something you got to do a lot of extra to, and that might be another selling point for customers. Right. And then just reading down here too, another thing we were talking about with the driver assist display, in the 7-inch iPad display, there's a setting for the turbo where you can see the meter and see it moving up and down. So you can feel as well as see the control of the state of this unique technology while driving.
Well, some of that's got to be a bleed down from the GTR, because the GTR's had a lot of the stuff display wise where you can see everything, and now that tech's bleeding
GTR in. And even before the GTR, the Juke. People used to love that little Juke meter where you could see the little turbo going back and forth. So yeah, it's something. I mean, you'd be surprised. Some people love little things like that. But yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, it's something I'm definitely excited about this. Like we said, it's only available in the SR and the Platinum trim levels, but I'm glad to see that it's not only available in the top of the line. They're also doing it in SR, because from what I've read, they have the S, the SR, the SL, and the Platinum trim levels is what I've seen so far. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to see that. You don't have to step all the way up to a Platinum to get this type of engine. You can also get in the SR, which is a little bit more cost effective for some customers.
Right. And of course, getting to the engine, what takes the power to the wheels is your CVT transmission. What everybody, like it or hate it, guys, it's not going anywhere, man. Nissan's put billions of dollars into this thing. They're not just doing away with it, even though Nissan seems to be the only people out there waving that CVT flag. It's here to stay, and it's been in a few of them now. Yeah,
it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's not going anywhere ever. It's one of those things. It's just going to be here. And I mean, I will say they've done a better job with them. I feel like we're not replacing as many as we have in the past. I mean, we're still, in my opinion, replacing more than we should be, but it's definitely an improvement over what it's been. Nissan's also done a lot better job of, instead of just replacing them, also being able to rebuild them as well. But like you said, I mean, it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So do you
because I know you guys are a little bit of a higher end market. Do you ever see a chance for an all-wheel drive stick shift? I mean, do you ever have kind of customers kind of looking for anything like that? I mean, not necessarily the all-wheel drive, but just the stick shift feel.
I mean, really, the customers we get with it being a little bit. I mean, obviously, your sports car drivers. All but one of our Zs are stick shift. So your sports car drivers, yes. But really, for your normal buyers and things, they love the paddle shifters. I mean, you get a lot of these people who they don't know how to drive stick, but they love being able to control it by paddle shifter. It's one thing with Maxima customers they really enjoy. So that's actually what I was sitting here reading right now was about the CVT as we were talking about it. It looks like the paddle shifters we were talking about
for the SR, the SR model only. What it looks like.
Yeah, SR model only.
Which is strange because we've seen them in the picture of that Platinum car.
I was about to say the same thing. So that just goes to tell you that that's not a complete finished model. That must have been something they were throwing everything they could in there.
Right.
Like we still have yet to see exactly what these breakdowns are going to be as far as each model.
Right.
But yeah. So paddle shifters are available with the Altima SR grade.
Mm-hmm. And also with the SR grade is a 19-inch tire and rim. Have they offered a 19-inch in the Altima before?
No, the biggest has been 18. So
they're going to 16, 17, and 19, and that 19 has to be on the one we're looking at because it really fills out the tire and the wheel well real well.
Yeah.
You know,
and then the other side of this whole coin is we have a new standard 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine.
Oh, I was just trying to go right over that one, man. Come on now.
Just skip that. Who cares?
Now the current.
I know Nissan's real big about, they were already saying this is the first time we've ever had 2 new engines come out in a model like this.
Now this 2.5 is it a completely new engine or is it just kind of a revamp?
Well, it looks from what I'm looking at, it's fairly new. It says it features 80% new or redesigned parts.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess that comes down to one of those.
So the block's the same and everything else is new. Hey, and getting back to that turbo real quick, how long is it before Tuner Guy gets a hold of this and he's trying to dump bigger turbos and stuff on this car, and then the nightmare of that crank adjusting to map the computer now, and like I'm sure there's a lot of power you can get out of it.
I was thinking the same thing, and I'm thinking that might be why they are not having an all-wheel drive version with that turbo, because that might reduce some of that. I mean, think about it. If you had an all-wheel drive with that engine, I could see a lot more people wanting to try to really push it. So maybe that's why they didn't do all-wheel drive in this version. But yeah, that's going to be one thing you got to think of. I mean, as stupid, I'm sure there's people out there who are like, why would anyone do it? People will do it. People will figure out a way to do something like that.
Oh yeah, I was surprised when I was out in California at a Nissan show out there, and there was the let's see, this was in 2014, so the S50 would have only been out for a year or so, the Infinity, and somebody had already jammed a GTR engine in it. And I'm like, it's amazing how quick, like, these guys, the money they have to do it, but how quickly they can where there's a will, there's a way, man.
I mean, I thought the Nismo Sentra was kind of dorky, and then all of a sudden, I mean, this is when I was working parts. We got a speed shop calling us up, wanting to order this, that, the other. They're building some kits to redo. And it's like, I literally did not think anyone was going to build this car up. And then this guy's got a market for it and a niche for it. So It's one of those things. Everyone wants to be the first to do something crazy like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's, I guess, brand awareness or something. But, there is a manual transmission in that little car, man. So I don't, maybe there's hope for it down the road. Let's see. We've got, of course, premium interior, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Yeah, like you were saying, there's going to be an S, SR, SV, SL, and Platinum. Jeez, how many more S's do we need in this lineup? But let's see. They're all going to come standard with the 2.5 engine, intelligent all-wheel drive. The SR and Platinum is going to have the turbo, exclusive launch base, blah blah blah. What this car does come with, though, and something you're aware of with the Leaf, is that what do they call it? ProPilot.
Your ProPilot Assist. It's something you're starting to see a lot more of. Obviously, Tesla's been doing their autonomous version of driving. I don't know if you've seen the commercials. Cadillac is doing their version of autonomous driving.
I know Uber's doing it, and they're killing people with it.
Yeah, Uber, they're doing it wrong, but Nissan, theirs is more of a hands-on autonomous driving. It's a hands-on assist, so it's something. It's really cool and fun to drive. Really, it's something. Obviously, it depends on your conditions. If it's raining, this, that, the other, it might not work as well. But essentially, what it does, if it can pick up the lane markers, it can keep distance from the vehicle in front of you. You can obviously set that closer and further away, and some of these systems you're seeing now that are starting with this feature, it's more of a ping pong back and forth, keeping you in your lane. Whereas this, since it's more of a hands-on, it keeps you centered in your lane. So, like I said, I keep saying driver fatigue because it's one of those catchwords that Nissan uses. So when we're selling cars, when we're selling products, things like that, we tend to use the same words that match up with them. But they want that to reduce driver fatigue. So when you're driving, some of those little corrections you make just going on a long road trip, you're not having to make anymore because the car is keeping you centered in your lane. So I think that's one of the biggest, more interesting things. And then we tested it out, obviously in a controlled environment. But if you take your hands off the steering wheel, it'll keep driving, but then it'll give you a chime, hey, put your hands back on the steering wheel, because it can feel that. If you don't, it'll actually judder the brakes twice. And if you still don't, it'll actually stop the car, put the hazards on, and things like that. So it's a really cool feature, and it's something that is fun to play with. I mean, it's beyond intelligent cruise control. It really does keep you centered in your lanes, and it really works. I mean, just with a little bit I've driven it back and forth in areas. One of my favorite places to use it is if you have anywhere, we have some road work going on right now. They still have good lines. You know, sometimes they put those walls so close to road work when they're doing, you know, especially on interstate work, and you're like, man, that wall is so close, and you get paranoid. You put on your ProPilot Assist, it keeps you dead center in that lane and nothing to worry about.
Well, we're not all living the ATL, buddy, so we all don't know what constant road work is. I see, though, it's going to be standard on the SV, SL, and Platinum grades. They've also added what do they call the rear? The rear automatic braking, RR-8B, which is going to help you detect stuff when you're backing up, which is, I mean, that's a good safety thing, because I know there's been kids in the past that, you know, their parents go to back out of their driveways or whatever. So, I mean, that just anything you can do to help somebody see around their car or have a warning for it, that's got to be amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're seeing more and more and more safety features slowly trickle down. Like you said just now, with the ProPilot being available all the way down to the SV model. That's something we're not seeing in other models. So that's a new movement. So that's the thing. As technology gets cheaper year over year, you're seeing this technology getting down into lower and lower trim models. I mean, forward emergency braking is standard across roads right now. That's something that used to only be available in SLs. I mean, it was only 2 years ago where that was something only available in SLs. So it's definitely something that's really interesting. Like you said, you have your rear automatic braking, your pedestrian detection, your automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, blind spot warning, rear cross traffic alert, and they've even done the rear high beam assist. So the rear automatic braking, that's new to Safety Shield. That's something that's not available right now. So that's something that's new. So, yeah, I mean, anything that we can do to help mitigate accidents, that's one thing Nissan's all about with that Safety Shield technology. So it's something that's constantly evolving and constantly changing, and we're going to see it start rolling out in more and more models moving forward.
Right. Well, Nissan's got some good stuff too. If you go to Nissan News and look at the variable compression turbo stuff, it's got a really good video diagram of how these engines work and stuff. So if you want to head on over there, and we'll always have links on the website. What other things kind of stand out? What was something that kind of stood out about this car that you liked?
I mean, I think the biggest thing to me is I like how Nissan's kept some of their designs across some models. Like I said, with the floating roof, the V-motion grille, your Safety Shield, but they've kept some of that to make. I mean, you still know it's a Nissan by looking at it, but they weren't scared to totally throw the design book out the window and come up with something fresh and new. This isn't a refresh. This is, in my opinion, a complete redesign. So I like them staying true to some roots and keeping some aspects to where it matches up with other models, but they also weren't scared to say, hey, you know what? We're going to go with something completely new and different. I'm hoping it really speaks to the brand moving forward with some of these other cars that we're looking forward to, with your Frontier, and possibly maybe any more SUVs that might be coming out. So I'm looking forward to that. that's one thing that I really enjoy is they kept some of the things that make a Nissan, but they also weren't scared to say, hey, we're going to redo a car and make it a real eye catcher.
Right. I think the thing of like the front end to me, of course, it looks wicked. It's sporty. It's very classic. And they didn't take the burger logo and shove it up your face. Like it's an appropriate size, man, because that's my beef with the Titan. It looks appropriate even on the tailgate. It looks like it's the right size. Like they're not screaming at you, "Hey, we're a Nissan." Look
well,
at
they
us.
didn't make it too small because the new Maxima.
Yes, I have noticed
that.
It's
so tiny.
Yeah,
it's like y'all might as well just not even put it back there.
Right. And we need to work with them on that burger, man. Come on, guys, you can do better. You can do better. I mean, you're not doing Kia. You're not Kia right now with their logo, if you would call it that. But come on, guys, we can revamp this a little bit. Let's see, what else do I got to point out? I think you kind of killed me on all my everything I wanted to talk about. The dealer in you kicks in and you start pointing it out. I haven't heard any miles yet, any kind of MPGs on this car, but it's got to be an improvement. It's technically a lighter car. Looks like it's comfy back seats. Of course, like you said, they've got their wicked NASA inspired seats.
The only fuel economy thing I've seen where they said the turbo motor is going to get double digit fuel economy over the 3.5. Mm-hmm. So right now the 3.5 gets 22 to 32. So does that mean we're looking at possibly getting
40s
for that type of power engine? Obviously it'll be how you drive it, but
and which fuel you put in it.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I mean,
yeah.
If you can get 40 miles per gallon, but if when you want to pass somebody, you can step on the gas and you're not worried about not being able to pass them.
Right. No, yeah, there's no doubt like it's going to be an improvement. And what this kind of shows you too is the next where they're going with the brand, We were talking about that V-Motion design. If you look, I've got a sketch still on the website as our banner or on the Facebook page. Man, this is close to being exactly what they sketched is what they built. Of course, when you get close to this car, you're going to see different things that pictures don't show you, body lines and stuff. But man, Nissan, I have to say, they've always been true to, if they kind of show you here's what we're doing, they do it. They don't play around. They don't, and that's what kills me with the IDX, man. It was like, oh, dude, that was such a tease, man.
But that makes me wonder. I mean, this V-Motion 2.0 came out Detroit 2017. Have we seen? Maybe we need to go back through some concept cars. Have we seen something that's coming down the pipe? I mean, think about it. I mean, it took almost 2 years for what was I mean, obviously when they produce a concept, they're gauging people's interest and things like that. So have we seen maybe some hints of what might be coming in the future? And the X Motion kind of jumps out to me as one. And then, like you said, the IDX is one I've always said that they should be building. But maybe we need to take a closer look at some of these concept vehicles they've come out with, and maybe we might see something in the future.
Well, maybe we need to go over to Franklin. Me and you go over there and talk to some people and say, "Hey, IDX, come on, let's do it." I mean, we both, you have Paul from the dealership, and I have this massive listening audience. So let's get them in line a little bit and say, "Hey, you want to build some cars again? Let's build that car."
I mean, what if the IDX they just came out with it and said, "Hey, we're going to gauge some interest, and maybe we'll pull some ideas from this IDX and put that towards the new Z."
Yeah, and I would be down for, you could badge something like that as a Z. I would totally, and you could take, what's really cool is the IDX was a small car. You could take this turbo with this variable compression engine in that little car, and that would be a little race car, man.
Yeah, no, it'd definitely be cool. So, I mean, that's one thing I'm kind of looking for in the future, because if anyone's not aware, if you just Google V-Motion 2.0, it was a concept that Nissan did at the Detroit Auto Show in 2017, and it's very similar to this new Altima. They obviously took some things that people liked about that and applied it to a new design. So, I mean, I'm looking right now at some concept cars. I mean, the Kicks is in there. Obviously, it looks different than what they actually came out with. But there's some concept cars that ended up becoming not obviously total models, but there's a lot of the ideas that you see in models right now. So maybe it's worth taking another gander in there and seeing maybe we're looking at something that might be coming down the pipe later.
Right. Well, there's the IMX, the electric sort of SUV that that's probably what the next, because they're talking about building an SUV coming up. What next? 2020, I think is when that one comes out. So I mean, that's probably true to that it's a good idea of what's coming down.
I would say the IMX is going to be something that we see down the pipe. Obviously, it's a little futuristic-y right now. I mean, but if you look at the V-Motion 2.0 2 years ago, that was very futuristic-y. And the only reason I say IMX is before the show, I was on Instagram, and Nissan had an ad, a sponsored ad with the IMX being shown.
Really?
So why would Nissan be spending that type of money to do a sponsored ad with the IMX if it's not something they maybe plan on doing? Maybe they're gauging interest, something like that.
Well, now I'm looking at it on the Nissan news website. They have all their concepts sitting there. If you look at it, they've got like the what they call the Altima, which was pretty much the Altima we've been talking about. What they call the Innovation is definitely the Juke, not the Juke,
that's the Versa Note.
Yeah, the Versa Note. Yeah, they definitely the Kicks, of course, they actually built that pretty much.
If you scroll down further, you see the Quasana, which ended up becoming the Juke.
Well, and even in this, the Laina, or however they say it, it even looks like this car. Like you can even see that as a part of the new Altima.
You see a little bit of the Maxima front end in that as well.
Let's see, which one were you talking about?
Quasana.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, definitely. And I remember that concept coming out and people just being like, "Oh my god, it's the ugliest thing ever." Yeah, and they built it and sold a bunch of them.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if you scroll all the way down, you see the V-Motion 2.0. Obviously, right above that, you see your Titan Warrior.
Yeah, the town pod
conception.
Town pod, which became the Leaf.
Yeah.
Now, if they would just not build the Zarut, I would be happy, because that was one funky looking wannabe Xterra. Hey, and speaking of, we'll end the show on my favorite and probably our audience's favorite talk of Xterra. Did you see where Toyota is came out with their Highlander or whatever they call it, and they've actually kind of made it off-road looking? It was all over the
RAV4.
Yeah, the RAV4. That's it. I'm sorry. And they've kind of put some flares on it and beefed it up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I noticed just looking at it, obviously, you look at the setting that they put it in, and obviously this crowd's going to be, you're being stupid. But one of the things when you look at cars like this, when people see an advertisement like that, obviously you have your crowd of heavy off-roaders like myself. But I'm a little bit biased because I'm also a car dealer. And people see a picture like that of it on the off-road and things like that. People aren't buying this car because they think it will actually really take them necessarily off-road. There will be some who, maybe they go down some gravel roads. But a lot of people buy a car like that because they think if they ever needed to, they could do it. And it opens their imagination. Hey, if I ever needed to, I could do that. This guy's not going to buy a RAV4 and take it out off-roading all the time. But I do think you start seeing it. One of the things that jumped out to me is that's the FJ whole little color combo, that blue with the white top. I mean, they're taking some of those things that Toyota's known for. I mean, it's not probably a skid plate, but it kind of skid plate looking underbelly right there. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see TRD do a little something with this. But that was one of the first things that jumped out to me is they kind of appealed to that FJ crowd with the two-tone paint. That was traditionally a big FJ thing.
Right. And of course, Toyota is talking about bringing some sort of body on frame off-road competitor back. So, who knows? The sky's the limit.
And Ford had that teaser the other day with a smaller off-road capable.
Oh, that's right, they did. And of course, they also are teasing the new the Bronco, which hang on to your hats, kids. The SUV market's about to get nutty.
Yeah, the SUV market's going to get nutty. I think we're seeing the truck market start to get. It's going to start getting a little bit more off-roadish. Just from being at the auto show down here in Atlanta, there was a lot of manufacturers. Toyota showed up strong, obviously with models that they already have. But one thing that got me is they had 3 4Runners, one with a rooftop tent, one all decked out with a canoe. They had a Tacoma. They had all types of trucks with stuff. They had one that was all decked out with roto packs and all the camping gear, things like that. Nissan, they brought out a 6-inch lifted Titan, a midnight edition with some wheels and their sports bar. Chevy was there with their Colorado, a midnight edition as well. It had this. I sent Dave the picture. It had the sports bar. It had that little 2.8 liter diesel, dual reservoir shocks, rear mounted spare. All that stuff was either factory or dealer installed through Chevy. So I think we're going to start seeing that. And I think ever since everyone got out of that market, look what Jeep's done. Jeep said, hey, everyone's gotten out of this market. Let's come out with 3 different models. And now people are starting to try to jump back in that market. You're seeing it now with Toyota, with the RAV4, with Ford. Hopefully we'll see something with Nissan.
Well, I'll never forget. It was 2009 when everybody started pulling out of the mini truck market a little bit. And, Dodge had just pulled out. I forget. There was talk of the Colorado pulling out. Of course, they waited for a little bit. And of course, Ford pulled out in 2011. And it was like Jeep, for one, just soaked up all those sales because people needed some kind of a 4-wheel drive thing. And now, 8 years later, it's like, whoa, we better cater to that market again. But I think like how people listen to music is it's nobody listens. I'm just not a rock listener anymore. It's so diverse, and what you do is everybody wants a car that meets their needs now. Like they have exact needs they need it to meet, and that's how the people are buying cars now. And I think it's taking auto manufacturers a little bit of time to catch on to that. And sure, you're not going to sell 200,000 of SUV a year or what they want to do, but you're going to have to get more profitable with smaller numbers. And of course, me and you had discussed this earlier in the week where Nissan was they had to put the brakes on some building of vehicles because they overbuilt this past year, and they've got a lot of 2017s sitting out there. And of course, that was all they wanted, market share, so they were really pushing it. And of course, the car markets have slowed down slightly, and they were like, and their numbers aren't ridiculous. They're what do they call it? They're days on
day supply.
Yeah, they have their stock of vehicles they can send to dealers. And what is it? I think they were floating. They got up to 80, and that freaked them out. And it's like GM with the Camaro, I know, was at 90. Some of the whatever their little
Honda with the new Accord is at 104-day supply right now.
Right,
and dealers have freaked out about that.
Yeah, because I know, and you probably experienced this a little bit. I know Nissan starts getting on the phone going, "Hey, I need you to buy cars. You've had to buy cars. We don't want these cars."
We're having it right. I mean, right now with it being the end of the Nissan's physical year, they're calling us about, "Hey, you need to buy Versa sedans because the factory we're done making them. So however many you have is the same you have until XYZ until this date." And it's kind of like, okay, we hear you, but you called us last month about this same thing, and we bought 40 of them. Well, guess what? I still have 40 of them. So I'm fine without being able to get any for a while. So, yeah, I mean, it's something some manufacturers saw. I mean, we say a slowdown like it's a big deal. It's a slight dip. Mm-hmm. But when you're cranking out cars like that, a slight dip all of a sudden can be a big deal. All of a sudden you get backed up with I mean, your stocking yard is full. You can't produce new models because you ain't got anywhere to park them. And then what another thing you got to start thinking of is we can tell when it gets too packed, because then we start getting cars that might be damaged where they tried to pack them in too tight in the stockyard and someone maybe bumped the bumper and things like that. So it's not just, hey, we don't have room to park them. It can be, hey, we try to make space. Cars got damaged because they were all parked too close together. I mean, it's more than just one little thing. Something as slight as a slight dip can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars in other ways.
Right. And of course, dealerships don't make, we had a discussion this past week about that too. The dealerships don't make a ton of money on new cars. So,
yeah.
So, you start getting them dinged up and stuff, and it starts eating into zero profit as is.
Yeah. I mean, and speaking of, going back to the Toyota and the, SUV, and it's like you said, you're not going to sell a ton of them, but I think one thing Nissan needs to do a better job of is like Toyota with TRD. The ones that they do sell, they're also double dipping and getting some TRD sales and things like that. If you're the one selling those type of products, you don't have to sell a ton of off-road capable SUVs, but if you can sell some off-road capable parts as well, you're double dipping in it. I mean, when Nissan first came out with the Xterra, Nismo did a good job with some exhausts, headers, some other things. We're starting to see that again with this Titan team up with Icon, where Nissan's going to be selling stuff like that, because some of the guys from that are in charge of Nissan trucks now came over from Toyota, so they're bringing some of those ideas with them. So we might be seeing a shift towards that. And then, I mean, I've told you, we had a meeting, it's been a few weeks ago now, with, executives from Tokyo flew all the way out to talk trucks, head of Nissan trucks in Tokyo. And we straight up asked them, what's the plan? Anybody on frame SUV? And they told us, the Terra is something that is for the Chinese market. But they said if there's a demand for a SUV like that, Nissan's not opposed to bringing something like that over. It's just a matter of proving that there's a demand. We obviously told them that there was. And, you're seeing it now. It's one of those things, like, now that people got out of the market, now people are trying to get in the market. I just was talking to Nissan execs at the show, telling them, hey, fellas, just go look at the Xterra used car market if you don't believe there's a demand for these vehicles.
Well, and I noticed today, I was looking at the Facebook marketplace. And, of course, I've got, being a Nissan nut, I've got, highlighted cars that I want to know about when they come available. And a 2000 Xterra for like $4,500 with like 180,000 miles on it or something. And it was dented up. And I would say that's a fluke, but it's not anymore, because I'm seeing all these old Xterras, even that old, like, they're not creeping in value very much, but they are like holding value more than I would feel like they should for almost a 20-year-old design.
Our general sales manager, his daughter has a 2010, and he's pretty much convinced her when she gets done, she's going over to college right now, but when she comes back for spring break, they're going to get her a different car, and they're going to sell her Xterra because she can get so much for it. Right. He can get more than what he paid for it now.
So do you even, when it was the highlight of the Xterra, and of course you would have been a little younger in the peak of it and probably not working at the dealer as much, but did you guys in your area sell a bunch of Xterras when they were really moving?
Yeah, that was my first car. My brother-in-law, that was his first car. Yeah, I had a 5-speed. It's what I learned to drive on. We saw them all the time. And, even when they announced they weren't coming out with them anymore, me and my dad, we bought a ton of them. We covered our lot up. You've been in the dealership. We got the bushes and some other. We had them parked all in there, all everywhere. Everywhere. And one of the biggest regrets we have is, we obviously – we didn't sell them at full sticker. We did the rebates, we did the discounts, and this, that, the other. But we wish we would have just not sold them and just kept them and said, hey, we're going to ask a sticker for them. Right. Or just put them in a barn somewhere. And if we brought those things out now, can you imagine we bought nothing but 4-wheel drives and as many Pro 4Xs as we could. We pretty much called up to the plant and said, this is what we want, as many of them as we can get. I was amazed when they announced that it was going away. You never saw anything but a Pro 4X after that. That's any dealership I drove by, that's all you saw of an Xterra was Pro 4X. And I mean, we literally, the last shipment, we got 15 or 16 of them in. It didn't even last us a month and a half, 2 months.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, just imagine if we would have just put those in a barn and then brought them out 2 years later.
Can you see a need for a 2-wheel drive body on frame SUV? As a dealership, do you I know people want the look but not always the functionality of a 4-wheel drive, but can you see, like, if they were to bring something like that or a patrol light back, could you see them doing strictly a 4-wheel drive body on frame SUV? Well, here's why I asked that. It would keep costs down because you're not building 2 or 3 different models. And then I would only do something like an S and a Pro 4X, and that's it. Because I think that's what the original, I know they sold a 2-wheel drive in the original, but you didn't have like 14 different styles of one truck. You had the XE and you had an SE, and that was pretty much it for the original Gen 1.
Yeah, it's something you definitely would. I could see you doing something like that. I mean, because think about it, it's a niche car. If it's a niche car, just make it a niche car. I mean, you don't have to have 50 different trim levels. If you say, hey, this is a niche car, this is what we're coming out with, then make it a niche car and say, this is all we're going to do. I mean, it would sell. And like you said, you keep production costs down and things like that. I just think so much of it's just a matter of Japanese decision makers understanding the American truck market. I mean, I was just reading an article today in Automotive News where Toyota is focused on their truck market and SUV market, and they've actually flown some of their engineers that worked on the Tacoma last time. He's actually I was reading an article about him. He's living out in Tokyo right now, driving a Prius because they don't have any trucks out there. And he was talking about how it's a totally different feeling. But he's out there with the Japanese to try to explain to them the American truck market and how it's different, because one of the things he said is Japanese, they can't understand the concept of a guy takes a truck, goes to Home Depot, buys a bunch of mulch, puts mulch out, and then takes that same truck and takes his wife out to Longhorn later that night.
Right.
And they said, he's like, that's a foreign concept to them of you worked in your truck that day and you take your family out that night in that same truck. Mm-hmm. But Americans do it. I mean, you do it. You can use a truck for work that day and take the whole family out for dinner at night. And that's not something people do in Japan. A truck is only for work. People don't personally own trucks.
It's probably a weird status thing to them too. Like a truck is like your common guy because they're very status people. So yeah, I can see them like a truck is just for a turd guy, man. He doesn't matter. But like you're saying is, my Pro 4X, it's a $54,000 truck. In the back of it, yesterday it had my daughter's softball gear in the back of it. It's full of mulch still from where I was using it this weekend. And we went out to a nice dinner this past weekend. So it's just like you're saying, yeah, we use them for everything.
Yeah, I mean it's in some areas it's like the SUV, except you can put stuff in the back and not have to worry about it. But it's still a family car. I mean, there's so many trucks that they're a family car. I mean, my Titan XD, that's what it's for. I mean, I can't take my daughter around in my Xterra because of the exhausts and being catless and all the crazy stuff I've done to it. But I use my XD. I mean, I'll do whatever and then throw her in the back and we'll go out to dinner. And that's a foreign concept in Japan. So it's something that Toyota has recognized, and to alleviate that, they're getting some American input, which I think is one thing Nissan needs to do, and something you're seeing. I mean, one of the guys that I know, he's from Georgia. He's from Decatur. He's sold cars at a dealership, and now he's very high up in Nissan with these new changes. And I'm hoping that he brings a American vision to Nissan. And sometimes that's why these guys from Japan flew out a couple weeks ago, was to discuss Nissan trucks. I mean, they were throwing out all kinds of crazy ideas like, do we need to put the diesel engine in the regular Titan? And we were like, no, we don't need that. Here's what we need. We need, a better marketing process. And just so they're trying to, the Japanese, you can tell from Nissan's perspective, they're trying to understand the American truck market, which I think is a good thing for us. So it'll be interesting to see what they're doing in the future.
Well, do you think some of that has to do with Ford trying to jump back into the midsize vehicle game? Because Ford is, they are the leader. I don't care about Chevy and you add GM to their sales. Ford is the leader of the full-size truck world, and which is Toyota is the leader of the mid-size truck world. And it's those sales have never converted to Tundra being like really to take on, like I think they thought it would. So do they kind of, you think they recognize that, whoa, we're not, and I'm speaking of Toyota, we're not as dominant. I mean, all these car manufacturers, they all build a quality vehicle anymore. None of them are really garbage anymore. So they have to recognize that we're not the best, and I know like Japanese automakers from the 80s, 90s and on have always been sort of the quality standard and we're the best at that, and that'll sell the cars. Well, like trucks, it doesn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, trucks, I think more than anything, you're starting to see the nameplates more important to some people than anything else. So I do think it's something. I mean, for the past few years, Ford just hasn't really cared about getting into that market because they sell so many F-150s and all that. I mean, like you said, it's not even a competition. Ford just crushes everybody in trucks. So I do think there's that, hey, Ford's getting into this market. We need to figure something out. So I personally think Nissan's a little bit behind with the Frontier redesign.
Like
I think
7
would have
years?
been. Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it just sells so many numbers. And talking to people at Nissan, obviously with this new one, the price is going to go up. I mean, that's to be expected. So you kind of get that. I mean, Nissan's just been crushing with the Frontier because of the price point. I mean,
but that should tell all manufacturers that if Nissan can take a truck that's almost 13, 14 years old and crush it, and I mean, the numbers are stupid at times. Some months are just dumb what they sell of that truck for no more technology in that truck has. Like engine-wise, nothing's changed. Almost interior-wise, nothing's changed. And they still crush it because of the price point. And that should tell these guys, Toyota and everybody, we're getting too expensive. I mean, I know roughly, I've seen reports of what actual cars cost to make, and there's not a ton of difference between a Versa and a GTR. In all reality, there's development costs, yes, there's millions and millions of dollars that way, but as far as steel, wire, to the actual car doesn't cost an arm and a leg like they act like they do. Because even when they do rebates, like on the Titan, the last Titan, Gen 1 Titan, they couldn't move at all. You could get one of those for $25,000, $28,000 all day long, and now they're $40,000, $50,000 trucks. And so they're making good money on these things.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things I always try to tell people when they get into the whole dealership conversation. I'm like, man, we have to pay a ton of money for these trucks, and we don't get a lot of markup. You should be mad at the manufacturers who are willing to give you $10,000 rebate, and they're still making money. I mean, they have to be. So, but like you said, it's going back. I mean, none of these trucks nowadays, you don't have this truck that's just a big old turd. I mean, everything's pretty well built and things like that. And one of the things my dad always says whenever you're coming out with a new model or a redesign, things like that, there's two ways to sell more of that vehicle. Either A, you got to come out with a product that is just head and shoulders above everything else. And with the way the market is right now, that's really hard to do because everyone does build very good quality cars. Or B, you got to come out with a car that is just such a good deal. People want it because of the great deal. And that's what you're seeing with the Frontier. I mean, it's I know a lot of people will point to its fleet sales and because it's a fleet car and you can get it so cheap. And yes, it is. But we still sell them day to day to normal customers that aren't fleet customers. And it's just because it is a good buy. You still get those customers even on a used car lot looking for the little 4-cylinder Frontier just because they need something cheap and they just need a truck. I mean, that's sometimes what we see is, hey, I don't need all this, that, the other. I just need a truck, and this is the best price for me. So
well, and fleet sales do mean something. I people can shit on that all they want. But fleet sales do. I mean, right now they're fleeting the crap out of Altimas and stuff to all these rental places. But, I would rather see that's what you see contractors. Every contractor's in an F-150 or F-250 or something. I mean, that's just how it is. And Why do people buy that? Because they see that contractor using that tough truck, and they're like, I want to feel like I'm in a tough truck, so I want to use what they're using. Well, if you've got every mid-sized truck out there that's a contractor vehicle, that's a Frontier, man, that's going to equate down to sales for your normal customers. And of course, contractors, they may not be replacing them as fast as normal customers, but they may be buying them 4 to 10 at a time too.
Yeah, and I mean, if it wasn't for fleet sales, the Ford they wouldn't be out of business, obviously, but their numbers would be a lot different if there wasn't fleet. So I know us, we do pretty good in fleet. There's a lot of other dealerships that do good. I mean, we just had a month before last a 50-car fleet deal, and it was all Frontiers for some meter reading company. I mean, we set them all up and everything. So yeah, I mean, that if it was me and I was doing the Frontier, I would almost still make the actual Frontier right now or something like it, and just have a fleet version where, hey, it's something you can just push. Well, then have your new, freshly redesigned with all the bells and whistles and things like that.
Could you see them doing something like that, like they did with the Rogue, called the Frontier Sport, for a year or two, just to keep, keep pennying out that little truck?
I've thought maybe they will. I mean, I don't know. It's possible. It wouldn't take much to come out with a new model and just still be able to bring out some actual Frontiers. It's not like it would be some crazy impossible task to do. It's just a matter of, would they want to do something like that? Because I do know just from my sources that the new Frontier, obviously you're going to see a price jump, and that's to be expected because they're going to do a lot with it. I think you are going to see a lot of, I don't know how much, but you are going to see some Titan Warrior concepts in this new Frontier. What I've been told is think Titan Warrior is the closest thing I've been given to a hint about it. But it would make sense to just build a crap ton of those S model Frontiers before you roll out the new model, maybe, and just have them for those fleet customers. I mean, because you think about, you're a meter reading company, this, that, the other. You don't care about having the new truck or anything. All you care about is what's going to give me a reliable truck that gets my guys around and that I can buy cheaply. And I mean, and you can continue to turn a profit. That's what they care about.
Right. And of course, the days of just a normal little truck are gone anyways. Is just a plain Jane, no air conditioner or anything vehicle. So mine, I think mine is I don't remember what model it is. It's probably an SV. But, I've got a nice radio system in the car, which I care about. I've got XM radio and all that stuff, and I'm super happy in my vehicle, man. So for my fleet vehicle, I can't fuss about what they do. Though I will say, and my show people hate me, I was kind of hoping they would buy a Tacoma, just so I could drive one every day and just to get a feel for that vehicle. But other than that, I was super happy they kept with Nissan. Well, Holden, we've about beat the death out of Nissan tonight. We've got about an hour and 40 show here, man. So if people want to follow you, man, let's give us the lowdown. Where can they follow? Obviously, Regal Nissan.
Yeah, Regal Nissan. And then I keep obviously my personal stuff. More than welcome to follow me, friend me, especially if you're looking for any type of Nissan parts or anything like that. Message me on Facebook is one of the easiest ways to get a hold of me. Do a real good job. RegalNissanParts.com. That's our online store. You can order stuff as you want. I do discount codes for different clubs and things like that. Some of the guys from Norse have their GLX has one, things like that. So if you got a club, you want, hey, we're doing an event, send us some swag, send us a discount code for our event. More than welcome to do that on Facebook. And then my little side business out of the dealership, lifting trucks and doing some custom work, Blackwatch Customs, on Instagram and Facebook. Give us a follow. But other than that, I mean, more than happy to help anyone I can with anything Nissan related. I'll do my best. That might open me up to some crazy questions and some craziness, but
all of a sudden you're going to get
more
those
than happy to help.
those iPod questions like we were talking about earlier. Well, I don't know why my 4S won't work with it. Well, yeah, and I know you've got your Instagram.
There's also
Go ahead. Go ahead, man.
I was going to say, yeah, Black Watch Customs, Instagram, Facebook. My personal Instagram, if you want to follow me for my day-to-day crazy shenanigans, is Scolding Hot. And then, obviously, we're down here at Regal Nissan, just north of Atlanta. And there is the exclusive launch edition based on the Platinum VC Turbo Altima. It's going to be offered in limited quantities and open for reservations in early summer 2018.
What?
So if you want to reserve it.
Are you going salesman on me already? Man. No, I would before
get yours.
Before we get off here, I was watching that video today of Nissan, and it was amazing to me, all these little salesmen popping up on the screen of like, you can get yours here, you can get yours here. And I'm like, guys, it's so
That's why I wanted to do it.
I know.
I saw everyone's like posting up there, come to
Yeah. Come to Saskatchewan Nissan in the middle of Canada. You can get one. You're like, yeah, those 4 people that are going to buy them. But yeah, and I know you got your XD page. What is that? Titan.
Oh yeah. Also, yeah, Nissan_Titan_XD. I just post up pictures of XDs as people send them to me and tag me in them. If you're doing something cool and interesting with XDs, definitely shoot me a picture, hit me up, let me know. I'm always looking for new cool things to implement in our shop and put in our showroom.
That's right, man. And that is the mother of all invention, is seeing other people do things and being able to sell that product. See them do it and go, yeah, I can do that. We'll slut ourselves out a little bit. Hey, go follow us on Instagram at Nissan Nation Podcast, Facebook. I don't know. I found some new app everybody was telling me about that I tried to get on. I didn't see anybody there yet, so we won't announce
Vero?
it. No, dude, everybody was moving
Vero.
from. No, what's the one? Everybody was leaving Instagram and going to one. I don't remember. But yeah, man, as long as Facebook ain't stealing your information and mine, we'll continue to post up there. On the website, Nissan Nation Podcast, you can listen to this podcast. Obviously, you're listening into it somehow if I'm telling you about it. Or you can download and subscribe on iTunes or Google Play. We are on Google as well. And rate us, please. We haven't been rated in a while, and it's like you don't love us anymore or something. I don't know. That's why Danny's not on tonight, people. It's because you didn't rate us. You've hurt Danny's feelings, and he doesn't want to be a part of it if you're not going to rate us. I'm playing. Check Danny out at Grunt Force Racing on Facebook. That's his new race page, and he's been making all kinds of cool sponsorship announcements over there. I see he just posted a video, so I'll have to check that out once I let Holden go. And that's
we're gonna. Oh. I just realized when you said rate you, I have not rated you, so we're gonna have a live rating. I give this show 5 stars. Submitted. A live rating. Now you go do it.
Hey man, don't work yourself to death there on that paragraph, man. Talking about the show. But no, it means a lot to us, guys. If you rate us, especially on iTunes, it bumps us up the old charts. And one more thing, if you are buying anything from Amazon, go to NissanNationPodcast.com. We have a kind of a crowdfunding area, and it's also got a little bit of just click the Amazon banner, and you can shop, do whatever you buy. I don't care if it's cat foods, batteries for that special toy. I don't care, guys. Whatever you buy, just use our banner ad, and we get a percentage from that. Doesn't cost you any more, so you're not doing anything. It's just Amazon's little way of paying us for advertising for them. So please, I know in the past especially tax season, we've done, been able to fund this pirate ship a little bit that way. And I guess that's about it, man. Holden, I appreciate you being on tonight. I know this was kind of a last minute. We both were texting back and forth talking about this car, so we had to do it now, and Danny just couldn't make it. He once again, you've hurt his feelings, crowd. You're not following everything he does. But
he said he needs 5 5-star reviews before he comes back.
yes, that's a new hashtag. Bring Danny back. It takes 5 5-star reviews to bring Danny back. But So from everybody here at the Nissan Nation podcast, from my buddy Holden over there to Danny out in the left coast and all parts in between, I want to say thank you for listening. And this is 3 years going strong, man. So let's keep it up. And Holden, what are we going to be?
We are out.
Peace, everybody. Love y'all.